Well, Australia's worldwide search for a national coach is the subject of intense speculation. The latest big name being linked to the job is none other than Dutchman Guus Hiddink, who of course made history by taking South Korea to the World Cup semi-finals in 2002, the first Asian country to get that far on football's ultimate stage. The only man and the only time, of course, that Australia went to the World Cup in 1974, that man in charge was Rale Rasic. And he joins me now, along with Ned Zelic, who's been lost to the national team since November 1999. But is that about to change? Gentlemen, good afternoon. Great to see you, Ned. And a lot of fans out there, I'm sure you'll agree, after so many years, out of sight, but not out of mind, people have been wondering, what happened to Ned Zelic? Will he make a comeback now with Frank Farina out of the job? Are you prepared to put your hand up for selection?
I thought you weren't going to ask me that question.
Wasn't I?
I thought you weren't.
Well,
you
really?
Surprised me.
No, I didn't think it was a problem. Look, your national team career today in 2005, do you think about it? Do you think about a return?
Well, obviously I do, and I have been over the past 6 months or so, but it hasn't got to the point where I'll put my hand up and say I want to play for Australia again. I mean, obviously in the past I've loved playing for my country, and the reason why I quit was because of the simple plain fact that I had a misunderstanding with a coach, and now basically it's a situation where obviously I'm curious as well to see who will come in, and I'll definitely be open to discussions.
So thinking about international football, the place Australia finds itself in today after all this time away, what do you think of the current state of the Socceroos as we head into the playoff against South Americans later this year?
It's pretty much the same situation as it's always been. Obviously, we're coming up to the last leg of qualifiers now, which we should get through. And then you've got the South American opponents, which is obviously going to be as difficult as it's been in the past. We've definitely got a lot of players with potential there. A lot of players that have experienced disappointments in the past. So I think that obviously, you know, like in all the past year, there's definitely a chance to qualify. It's just a case of producing the form on the day.
Well, this is, of course, some of the highlights when we saw you at your best in the green and golds. And I hope you'll excuse me for the misunderstanding on the question, but it is a question that the fans have always wondered about. Will Ned Zelic ever return? And we obviously know that after the disagreement with Farina and what have you and the things that pass, if you put all that behind you now, you turned 34 last Monday, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Today, do you feel like after all the time away from international football that you would be willing to give it another crack, or do you feel like it's easy to just step back into that realm given the intensity required?
I think that especially being away for such a long time, it's difficult to make a rapid-fire decision and say, OK, I'm back now. Yeah. It takes a lot of thought. I still feel physically in top shape and feel that I'm definitely good enough to play for the national team. It's just a case of other things really taking place. I mean, I've always been a player. I need that 100% support from the coach. And if that's there, then I'm prepared to play and obviously produce the goods as well.
Before we move on, can you explain that in more detail? What is it that needs to be in place? I mean, is it not as simple as just putting up your hand, I'm available to play now? It's
just basically feedback, and just that feeling that I'm 100% wanted, and that support. I've had that basically in my career where you get into situations where maybe you're not getting on with a coach or had a few misunderstandings and this and that, but I think it's important for a player to feel that support, and that's how it's been for me in the past.
Well, let's move on to you, Rale, and discuss a little bit about Ned, because you've put together what would be an ideal team for you moving forward as we take on the South Americans, because it's about experience, 2 matches, home and away, beating them and getting to the World Cup, and you've selected an 11 that you think would probably do it.
Very, very difficult. That's a personal view, personal opinion about 11 players. But I'm very firm on selection that I have made, and I think that stands the way that I selected Schwarzer, and one after the other. You can call Emerton for Zelic next, Moore and Neil, then Ocon, Kyle, Bresciano, Yankos, Coco, Aloisi and Viduka. I stick, and I have reasons for it, because I think modern football is played from behind. You need quality players, and you need players who can replace. There are two excellent markers, one more and one nil, and Emerton, Ocon, Bresciano, Cahill can always pop in, and you have two excellent strikers up front. And I think that is very formidable combination.
Now, there's no Harry Kewell there.
Harry Kewell is an excellent player. I always have given credit to the man what he has achieved, but I cannot recall the day that he played for Australia, so I didn't select him, and I'm open-minded about it. If Harry Kewell is 100% available for selection, and I'm sure that he would fit somewhere, but in my selection, no.
You did have Zelic there, of course, in a sweeper system, though, with more marking. Would a sweeper system, be the answer to what you think has been a problem for Australia defensively?
Look, we have experience with South Americans, not from yesterday, from '89. When we were eliminated by Israel, next opponent would be Colombia. Ever since, except '97, we played against South Americans. Against South Americans, you must have a player who can check and dictate the terms in defence.
But is it a sweeper? Is it more of a man who can read the game, come forward and do other things? Get forward, if you were the coach and Ned was your sweeper, what would you say for him to do?
Let me explain to you. It's a wrongly used word, probably. Peter Wilson was sweeper. For example, Ned Zelic is libero. You need the man who can pick up the ball, attack at will, defend at the same time, but most than anything else, you need the men who can organize the defense and call the shots from behind. And I think that is necessity. Whatever Ocon and Zelic achieved from element of surprise. They were capable to come from behind and create chaos in opposing defenses. And this is why I always give them credit for it. But there is two options. One option is when you are playing home and away. It's a different approach. And probably somewhere, somehow, Grella, because of his Italian experience, you need a bit more defensively minded people who know how to play tactical football. But South Americans can push the ball through your ears, and you will not, whenever you have a four-man defense, square defense, they will find a hole.
Ned, I just want to get some thoughts from Ned on all these problems that we've been having defensively, and how do you see yourself today? Would you like a role like that in a sweeper, let's say, because we've seen you many times in the middle of the park, more opportunity to get forward. Today, what player are you, do you think?
Obviously, I've felt comfortable playing both positions in the past, midfield and at the back as well. But I just remember from the days when the late Eddie Thompson used to use me in that role at the back, he basically just gave me a free role and said, look, when you get the ball, do what you want with it, attack. Obviously, you start off in the defence, but I had a free role, and I just felt that I had the freedom to go forward and to join into attacking moves.
Would that benefit Australia today when you look at the kind of problems they've been having defensively? We're trying to plug holes, and we've got some highlights of, I guess, one of the goals we conceded recently against Iraq, which was not dissimilar to the one Australia conceded in the final playoff against Uruguay in 2001. The long ball over the top, a bit of non-communication between defenders, and suddenly we find we're down a goal. I mean, how do we resolve this situation?
I think concentration has a lot to do with it as well. But I don't think we should get into ourselves into a situation where we're talking too much about the system. I think that we should look at the players and see what qualities do these players have, and how can we use these qualities against the opponent.
Well, that's a good point, because we're talking about the coach who comes into the job, and I'll run through a few of the candidates, Rale, before we move on, because it will be up to that man, of course, to decide how those players can be best utilised in a team that can hopefully get us to the World Cup. Jean Tigana, highly respected international midfielder for France, Fulham, Monaco, where he won the league, and Lyon, his club coaching experience. And the 59-year-old Dutchman, Guus Hiddink, who has emerged as the favourite. Of course, South Korea and Holland went to the World Cup semi-finals twice, had PSV, Real Madrid, Real Betis, Valencia and Fenerbahce. So Bobby Robson coached England to a World Cup semi-final in '90, had the likes of Newcastle, Barcelona, Porto, PSV and Sporting Lisbon Lisbon, not to mention Ipswich and Fulham. Carlos Bilardo, the Argentine, he coached 86 World Cup winners Argentina. Has also coached Libya and Guatemala, not to mention many clubs in South America. Francisco Maturana, the Colombian, he too has coached many national teams, Colombia, Peru, Ecuador, Costa Rica. Bora Milutinovic, the Serbian fix-it man, well, he's coached 5 countries to the World Cups in China, Nigeria, USA, Costa Rica and Mexico twice. Dick Advocaat, who apparently is the man who might come in if Hiddink does not get the job. He's coached Borussia Mönchengladbach, Rangers and the Dutch national team. And Kevin Keegan, the 54-year-old Englishman and outsider, the Liverpool great, who's coached Manchester City most recently, England as well, of course, at Euro 2000, Newcastle and Fulham. Other names include Cristiano Damiano, who is the former assistant of Gerard Houllier at Liverpool, and Houllier has been advising the FFA on technical matters on the coaching rally. So many names there, and we've come a long way just to have these names linked to the Australian job.
Its question is who wasn't listed? You know, they're all listed.
But raising the names of the kind of coaches and the calibre out there.
All great people, great credentials, but it's question someone who would quickly sum up and understand Australian situation. Must understand Australian players, Australian mentality. That is very important. I always said, and I repeat again, that quick fix is only one person, Bora Milutinovic. A man who lives in South America for past 25 years, wife South American, coached so many different countries. USA is one of the most memorable in all countries except Nigeria went to the World Cup quarterfinals. So speaks 6-7 languages, and it's so versatile.
Well, just on him, I think the interesting thing is he's coached so much developing football countries more than anything else to World Cups.
Yeah, I understand. I also give credit what Hiddink did in South Korea and with the club football. Absolutely remarkable record. So you can't, out of these people, you cannot point a finger and criticize any one of them. They are all people with high degree. My favorite, if you ask me direct, Milutinovic and Hiddink, no one else to be even compared.
Now, Hiddink has been suggested that he can do the Australian role at a part-time basis and keep his role at PSV because it's part of his contract, which was drawn up 2 years ago, because he still has the desire to create another fairy tale, if you like, and take a country to a World Championships net. Hiddink as the favourite. Now, what do you think when you look at all those names and perhaps a candidate that might be like really ideal for what Australia needs in these short 4 months?
It's really difficult to say what is ideal. I think because it's been so late now with the decision to change coaches, that I think a lot of the onus is going to be put on the players now. I just think the guy that comes in now basically has to obviously get familiar with the players and put the right players in the park. I just don't think there's enough time for a coach to really shape a team now in a couple of months and to put a trademark on the way the team's going to play.
So what has to happen then in the next 4 months, Raleigh? What is the key? Is it just tactical? Can you do it in a part-time basis as it's being suggested? Does it matter if it's part-time? Because Venables was criticised sometimes for being on remote control from England sometimes.
I don't know any coach in the world who works on a part-time basis. I think the coaches are committed to 24 hours a day, and they are professional people and they would do professional job. My concern, one, is matter of loyalty, matter of commitment. Do it for the country. And I object to one thing, when you have a coach sent to overseas to interview other coaches. If Graham Arnold, who is a great friend of mine, was with Frank Farina for 6 years, he goes to interview other coach in Europe, to me something is wrong. If you ask me what to do, I wash up with the asset for 3 months before I appoint, clean up everything and appoint new staff. And I'm sure that new coach in charge will do that. He will bring his own staff and his own from A to Z, everything that he needs to.
Raleigh, sorry, what do you mean by clean up everything? Because I think in Graham Arnold's defence, he did suggest to Frank Farina that he would like to walk away with him, but Farina suggested it was important for the boys that he stays on.
Frank suggesting that it's answer to Frank. This is why Frank is not on the job any longer. Because if he trusted people around him, he wouldn't be on out there, would he? So it's
well, I mean, it's debatable.
No, I'm sorry. It's a matter of loyalty. And I think everything that everything has been achieved in the past, has been achieved on matters of loyalty, discipline, commitment, and a country in the first place. So I don't believe in people who stay behind. If the coach goes, system goes. Simple as that.
Well, Ned, I'll give the final word to you on the national team because we're looking at an era now where we're looking just to qualify. It's been so long. Rally was then 74 when we last did it. It's been so frustrating, as you know, and you've experienced disappointment of campaigns. So what do you think, given the current crop of players around us, will happen if you could look forward to November? Do you think we have the quality to get there? Because a lot of people sometimes say, are we sometimes overestimating our chances? Are the South Americans too good? Are we good enough or aren't we? In the right tactical setup under a very good coach?
I definitely think that Australia is good enough to be part of a World Cup. It's just that with this path coming up against a South American opponent, it's always going to be difficult to get there. But you know, like I said before, I just think it comes down to form on the day. If we can get the players to basically put everything into it and concentrate on that day, for everyone to basically play the way they can, I think that we've definitely got a good chance of qualifying. But again, it is a difficult path, but it's not impossible.
Well, we might have lost some of your best years, Ned, but who knows, maybe you'll come back and maybe we'll see you again in the green and gold. But thank you for coming in today. It's been wonderful having you here. And Radley, thank you very much. I know you're itching, it looks like, to make one final point, but very quickly.
Great pleasure. I think we are good enough and we can qualify irrespective who takes over, providing that we have correct choice of the coach. We can qualify. I'm absolutely confident in it.
Okay, well, thank you. Rale Rasic and Ned Zelic again.
Thank you, Simon, and welcome to everyone to an occasional segment on this programme, very occasional, called Captain's Table. It was almost exactly 4 years ago that we last did this, called together a number of Australia's former captains and gauged their wisdom on the burning issue of the day, how to tackle Australia's most important task in the 4-yearly World Cup cycle. That, of course, being the looming 2 blockbusters against Uruguay. In fact, we have augmented the guest list today with Australia's most successful World Cup coach, but more about the introductions in a moment. One man who sadly can't be with us today is the most revered of our captains, Johnny Warren, who died exactly 1 year ago today. But it is appropriate for us to begin today's forum with some words from the great man himself as he spoke, warning us of our failings after that painful loss to Uruguay in Montevideo 4 years ago.
Well, after Iran, we were devastated. I'm not devastated, I'm sad. I'm very sad like everyone else because the best team over the 2 legs, by far the best team, in my opinion, won. And perhaps it's time for us all, myself included, that we talk with our heart too much instead of our head and face the basics that they over the 2 legs, this is the 5th best South American team. Thank God it wasn't Colombia, which would have been more difficult in terms of logistics. FIFA did us a favour. The preparation period was fine, the game against France. But when it came to the crunch, and this is not a criticism of any personnel at all, but I think it's been very sobering for us in Australian football. There is a time for a big rethink about what's happening. We're not as good as we think we are, and we have a lot to learn. We have to go right back and not start again, but the 4th best Asian we couldn't beat, the 5th best South American we couldn't beat, and that's the bottom line. There's a lot to learn. Again, it's not a criticism, please, of any individual. We're trying to look at Australian football. What do we have to do? It's very sobering. There has to be a rethink. Soccer Australia has to get proper technical advice on decisions. A decision has to be made whether Farina stays or goes very, very quickly. We have to look at the junior development. We've been crying for 40 years for more South American influence in our football, and the difference between their technique and ours is a lot. That, again, it's not a criticism because these players represent the best that we're producing. It's not a criticism of them, it's a criticism of the system, that we need more influence to have more technical, to have 11 cules on the field.
Johnny Warren at the Centenario in Montevideo following Australia's 3-0 loss in 2001. So let me introduce our guests at this captain's table. Charlie Yankos has played for Australia 49 times, 30 of them as captain, and scored 7 goals between 1986 and 1990. Charlie, nice to see you.
Liz.
Paul Wade collected 84 caps for Australia, scored 10 goals and was captain of his country 46 times between 1990 and 1996. Wadey.
Always a pleasure, Les.
Always a pleasure for us as well. Craig Foster, now SBS chief football analyst, captained Australia once against Bulgaria in 2000, has 29 caps and scored 9 times for his country. Posy.
Les.
Good to see you at the table. And a special welcome to Rale Rasic, the man on my right, the coach of the only Australian team to have ever made it to the World Cup finals. Rale was national coach between 1970 and 1974, over 34 A internationals for 16 victories, 10 draws and 8 losses. Nice to see you, Rale.
Pleasure.
Well, we have divided the discussion into 4 core categories today that may determine Australia's capacity or otherwise to defeat Uruguay. The first of them we have titled Then and Now, the differences. What indeed are the differences between the task 4 years ago and the task now? So let's join our panellists on that. Rale Rasic, I'll ask you first. The one big difference, obviously, is that the home leg is last now, and that's, I gather, is a crucial difference.
I look from different perspective. To me, really doesn't. I look for outcome out of 2 games. Only the great thing about it, would we really, after so many years, celebrate as a nation success of the team? First leg in Montevideo or here just makes no difference to me. I never seen any difference in my days and never seen in anybody else's. Some people said it's a big advantage. Some people were critical of Thompson playing first leg at home, not in Argentina. We had the first leg against Korea here, 0-0 in Sydney, after expectation was so great. And we went to Seoul 2-0 down, came from 2-0 down into 2-2 to play third match.
But you were in your games, you were never in that position, except for New Zealand, I think, where you played the away leg first. But the others, the crucial ones, were the home legs first. Korea, Iran were the home legs first.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying, that we play first leg at home against Korea.
Yeah.
No result.
But this is very different. Let me go to Paul Wade. Another key difference now is the fact that there's a lot of support, institutionalised support, shall we say, from the Federation, from the FFA. Money is no object. All the reconnaissance, all the spying, all the rest of it is really coming out of their ears now. So that's a big difference too, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Although I will say that our preparation has been so disjointed, with players being injured and, a new coach so close to that crucial. You can have all the money in the world to prepare, but if things like that go wrong, and Graham Arnold will make a good point, we've got to be able to adjust in these 2 legs. That'll be the interesting point for me.
What about another big difference, of course, which is probably the most obvious one, Charlie, is who's hitting. And I'll ask each of you on that one. He's a major difference between now and 4 years ago.
Well, it certainly is. I think the most difficult thing for anyone, doesn't matter who the coach is really the situation that we're confronted with. We've got to play 2 the most crucial games and try to get the players together over a very small window of time and expect them to play brilliantly in 2 games. Now, it doesn't matter which country you are, you're always going to it's going to be very, very difficult. The fact that the players cannot get together on a very regular basis to be hardened in true World Cup qualifying conditions, it's all good and well to get the team together to play for games and competitive games and friendly games, but the fact that we haven't been able to get the players in a situation, because of the way the draw is, to be as hardened as the Uruguayans, doesn't matter who the coach is going to be very, very difficult. Yes?
Well, let me just give you who's hitting's international record. He's played 75 games. That's as coach of Holland and of South Korea for 36 wins, 20 draws and just 19 losses. So he's got a good international record. But is it, Wade, you said before Frank Farina had departed, that it was too late. Do you still feel that?
Very much so. Yeah. I was totally shocked when the old Soccer Australia said he's got the job back without even looking overseas, and I just could not believe that. I think Johnny said it there that we've got to look at Frank Farina. Is he good enough for the job? We didn't. And then we turn around and sack him 5 months before the game. That's a big problem.
Well, it is. But what I'm asking you now is, from what you've seen of what Hiddink has done since I think late June that he got the job, or early July, do you still believe that he's not going to make enough of a difference for us to qualify?
That's $1 million question, isn't it? I mean, there was talk about playing 3 at the back, but the 3 at the back have got to play like a 4. Having seen that game against Argentina, if that 3, if they play 3, don't start doing each other's job from time to time, we're going to get slaughtered. Now, has Hiddink got that through to the players? He hadn't at the Solomon Islands. He was really cheesed off, wasn't he?
And it'll take time, Les. It's very difficult.
Fozzie, on that, how much of a difference will Hiddink make to what position we were in 4 years ago?
I think he makes a difference in 2 areas. One is with his experience. You talk about his record. He's done it with different countries. He can take on the different personalities, and every coach who comes to coach the Australians, and Rale know this, appreciates the work ethic, the commitment, and the ability to learn of the Australian players. So I think he's already on record about that, Hiddink, but also tactically to go away. It's an enormous task. We all know that. Yeah. But someone has got to be good enough to sit there and analyse their strengths and weaknesses, ours, and be able to counter theirs and at least try and create some opportunities for us. The big question mark for me is, has he had long enough with the team? The answer is no, but I still see a massive difference in the small amount of time he's had. For me, he should have come on board a long time ago. Yep. There's no two ways about that. Yep. But either to assist Frank or to take the job, one or the other. It didn't happen, but I think that we've got a far greater chance now than we had a number of months ago.
Rale, on finally on Hiddink, we haven't had a chance to talk to you about how you view his performances so far, what you've seen of the Socceroos since he took over.
I think the greatest contribution that he makes is moral. He's a strong psychologist. He's a very influential person. With him, there is nothing if or but. Do what you are told, and our players need to be told do what you are told. And I think that lack of discipline in the past, I'm not criticizing Frank at all. Lack of discipline. With Hiddink, there is no question.
We're watching the game against Jamaica.
There is no question in the world. Jamaica's game was probably opposition wasn't strong enough.
Yeah, but neither was the Solomons or Indonesia.
But his influence on the game was great against Jamaica. You could see midfielders dominating the game. You could see players popping in and out. You could see a method. And Australia was methodical, irrespective how good or bad opposition was. Secondly, he is internationally known for his contributions to football. So no player, including Viduka or Q, can ask questions from this man. Just do what you are told and that's it. And I think he will have big influence on it.
Another factor in this area of the differences, Charlie, is that it's a very different Uruguay now. 4 years ago, Uruguay was much more reliant on defence and playing on the break, as they did play during the finals of 2002. But this is a team with a lot of attacking options, even though we hear that Forlan might be out. But it's much more reliant on attack, so we have to play differently.
Well, I think so. I think, we've got to look at each of the games and we've got to understand what our objectives are as we move forward. Over there, it's very crucial that we go and we start very well, and that's a most important thing. So, there's going to be pressure. We always know the first 20 or 30 minutes, the momentum is going to be going their way, and it's important for us to be able to take control of the game, play it to pace that we need to play it, and not get overzealous or overawed by the occasion. And it doesn't matter the combination of the players. It's an important thing that collectively they go out there and have a common goal. They know the Uruguayans are going to come at them 100 miles an hour. They're going to try to score a goal or two very early, very quickly. Yeah. And it's important that they consolidate, hold them off. Then you might find that the momentum will start swinging. If things don't work out the Uruguayans' way, then their supporters are going to start putting pressure on them, and that's an important thing, especially if the first, as I said, 30 minutes or so.
We'll talk more about that in a moment. We turn now to our second topic, the mental factor. Is Australia ready mentally for the challenge, especially given the many failures it has experienced at this point in the past? Wadey, to you first. This is a factor, isn't it? It's the fear factor. The factor that the whole world is against us, FIFA's against us, God is against us, everybody's against us, my mother's against us. We can't possibly win in this situation. You've been through the mill on this. 2 World Cup campaigns, 2.5, nearly 3. So, will that impact on our players?
I think the beauty, and I guess, you're right, me and Charlie have experienced it before. This is a clean slate. Right. people complain about the way we qualify at the moment. I tell you what, when we have to go through Asia, it's not going to be any easier. Now, it's a clean slate. These boys are going in and they're playing a team. They've only got to beat them over two legs. Do you know what I mean? There's no need to panic, and I'm sure that with their experience, and everyone says that.
My question is, will they panic though, Wadey? That's what I'm.
No.
Will this prey on their mind?
Yeah,
Rale,
they
you tell me.
They shouldn't.
You tell me. I mean, you were in this situation. We'll throw up the figures, the results of those horrible series of, I think it was 8 games, well, actually it's more than that. But all those occasions on which we were at home. There's 9 games there. The 9th one in 2001 was the first time that in a crunch game like this, we managed to win at home. Even in your time, we couldn't beat South Korea, we couldn't beat Israel, and in these sort of games, we did beat Iran, admittedly. So, Rale, these are sort of mental difficulties.
This is where I think that Hus has to play big role. He has to convince the team and players to overcome that hell. I don't think so that many players know what Montevideo, what Stadio Centenario means. That is a difficult hurdle. I question from the point of view how does Lazaridis, Vidmar and others who have been there, how they are going to cope with the two. Because just reinforcing something that we experienced.
You would prefer players who did not graduate from Montevideo
I prefer that, but very important factor here. I think that people here, some people are talking too much about Uruguay, against Uruguay. If I would be in charge, I would ask nation to shut up, let us to plan, let us to think, because more you talk about Uruguay now, more you are asking for troubles.
Yep.
So when we arrive to Montevideo, would be 10 times more difficult than 4 years ago.
Okay, well, these are the pictures now about, depicting that incident in Montevideo 4 years ago. That factor, this hostility factor that's been, or this perception of hostility, Fozzie, that's been built up in Australian minds, particularly by the media, about this being a kind of a hostile environment, and I mean, that's another fear factor, a possible fear factor.
Yeah, that's right. But again, I like Rale, I keep coming back to Hiddink, and he's been through every situation. How many years has he been managing? So to me, you look at a squad, there's 2 areas where they gain confidence from. One is if the guy in charge has been through it all, knows what to do, and you have confidence in his preparation. If he says we're going to Buenos Aires and we're staying there for this reason, it gives the players enormous confidence. I also talk about on the park. If they know, you've all read, and all the viewers have read the recent comments over the last few months of all the players from within the squad. They're very quiet when a coach is there. Now that a coaching change has happened, you hear now in training often we were lost. And when the way these players gain confidence is to know that they are extremely well organised and that he has the right game plan to go away from home. So to me, I think he's got those 2 areas covered. And I think personally anyway, a lot of those players are going to draw enormous confidence from Hiddink in both those, particularly the young guys.
Okay, Charlie, another factor, another fear factor. We were talking about mental factors still. Yellow cards. Let's have a look at them. Who's on yellow cards? Uruguay has 8 players on yellow cards, 3 players suspended. Australia, none suspended, but 7 players, and some of them are key players. But possible match winners like Bashana, who are on yellow cards. I
think ex-captain
like this.
I think that if a player goes out there and has that on their mind while they're playing the game and they're not doing the right thing on behalf of the team, then we've got a major problem. I think they've got to go out there with the mindset that this is just a fresh game. Go and play the game in accordance with the instructions, in accordance with what's required for the whole team to go out there to perform to achieve a certain goal. That's the most important thing. In the back of their mind, if they're thinking that, geez, if I tackle that guy, I stop the goal from going in, but I'm going to miss the next leg, and they score a goal against us, that's a major problem.
Would you spare players because you needed them in the second leg, and because they're on a yellow, it's too risky to use them in Montevideo, Rale?
That's what I said, that both matches are equally important. I go for the first one to achieve anything possible, draw, narrow defeat 1-0, like Uruguayans were celebrating when they lost 1-0 here. And I would go first leg at any cost to score the goal there or to achieve low score.
You're not answering my question. Would you spare players, say Bresciano?
No.
Would you leave him out because you wanted him for
I play all the way with the best team possible, with all cards that I have. I put on that Montevideo game. You cannot think Uruguay can play here far better, and they did in Melbourne. If you remember, before we scored from penalty kick, Recoba missed just 2 sitters. So that game could be different result.
I reckon the only person who's got a real worry is Lucas Neal. You have a look at the others. They're not that aggressive, miss a tackle, but I tell you what, Lucas Neal, you've seen him play just recently. It's like, whoa, hang on a minute. He's and I tell you what, if we lose Lucas Neal out of that back 4 or back 3, we are in big trouble.
All right, Wadey, thanks. I will come back to you, Mr. Our third topic then is about the physical factor. Are the Socceroos ready physically to rise to the challenge against what can be a very physical opponent? I would say physically the Australians are normally, traditionally, pretty good. But there are some question marks over fitness here, Fozzie. Kuhl is one. Kuhl is one. Viduka recently came back from injury. Skoko hasn't been playing. There's the matter of game time.
Yep.
Are you worried about any of these physical factors?
That's the only area I'm worried about. When you talk about the physical intimidation and the tackling of the Uruguayans on the park, you know, the Australians can always deal with that, and I think they'll be prepared for that before they go into the game. They've done all the research. The first thing Hiddink will be saying is, okay, this is what they did against Argentina. Watch this. They target particular players. They're very savvy. If you've got a playmaker, if it's Bresciano, one player might hit him, then he won't hit him for another 10 minutes. Right. Someone else will come in, and he'll put himself at risk for a yellow card for giving one to Bresciano. It's part of the game. It's very professional. It's very smart. Our boys, we prepared for that this time though. But yeah, the fact that, look, this is the great conundrum I think for Hiddink is, does he go for experience or does he go for guys who are playing regularly? And to me anyway, I think particularly in defence, he goes for guys who are playing regularly at a reasonable level.
What about that stuff of mixing it, Charlie? Because the Uruguayans do mix it. I mean, this is something they do, and they do very well.
They do. I think what's probably been the difference over recent times is that you look at the Uruguayans as the whole cluster of players that do everything they possibly can to stop the momentum of the opposition. Doesn't matter who they are. And they do it tactically, like Fuzzy was saying. One will go and tackle, they won't touch him, somebody else will do it, and somebody else will do it. And I think that is a tactical approach that they apply. We haven't really done that. What we do is we realise and acknowledge that it's a good player, but at the end of the day, the whole ambition here is to qualify. And as a collective unit, we have to understand what that means. So if that means that we have to go out there and be dirty, and I don't mean be aggressively to the point where we're going to get sent off or do stupid things, we've got to be mindful that, hey, we only got 2 chances, home and away. We've got to get results. And if that means that you've got to throw your body in front of somebody to stop them from scoring, and that may mean you may miss the next leg, but if you're doing it and you're sacrificing it on behalf of the team, you've always got the World Cup. Right? That's where the ambition.
Absolutely.
Our goal is Germany. We need to be there.
Another factor that was discussed and probably will be discussed, Wadey, is the so-called slowness of our defenders who were exposed in various matches, although not in the last one. I mean, the last, if you remember the Jamaica game, he finished with Neal, Vidmar and Chipperfield as his back 3. Now, only Vidmar perhaps can be accused of being slow because he's by far the oldest in the entire squad. I mean, is it an issue for you?
Very much so.
Still?
Huge issue. Maybe the fullbacks, Lucas Neal, and I would put Tony Vidmar there. I guess we'll see that in a little bit. You know, that's my choice. But in the middle of the park, did you see how much Zalaeta and Morales were working to make space for the ball over the top or the ball through the middle? I tell you what. You have to be clever. You don't have to do all that running to be a good defence, but I tell you what, you do have to be quick. And
do you
we're in big trouble.
Midfielders saying you don't have to be quick?
Well, you know, put the pressure on the midfielders, but Skoko hasn't played, and he's another one of my choices.
He marked Maradona. He did mark Maradona.
Yeah, that's right.
And Wadey was not well, though. Not well.
A little bit about defending. Okay, our final topic then, which is the technical factor, probably the most interesting of the lot. What should be the technical strategy, the tactics used and the players selected? Master Coach, rally to you first. Firstly, do we attack or defend over there? What is the aim and how we're going to do it?
Point one, you cannot afford to defend against Uruguay. Morales and Zabaleta are deadly in this situation around penalty box. They are 6'2" and 6'3", two strikers. Then you have deadly support from behind. You cannot afford to sit back. Secondly, I would personally attack at any cost in first 5-10 minutes to relieve that pressure. That is going to be a killer if you sit back in first 10 minutes, would be worse than hell. I don't think so that we have that experience to sustain that pressure which will come. Natural pressure, which will come in first 10 minutes.
That's right. I mean, you made a point to me privately that even if we lose 3-1, that one goal, is still gettable.
3-1, still 2-0 is achievable here. 1-0 is fantastic to achieve here, but my view is that we have to be strongly minded to attack at any cost in first 10 minutes or 15 minutes to score the goal at any cost.
Harry Kewell, Fozzie, you saw him the other morning. 15 minutes or whatever it was for Liverpool. Would you start him?
I wouldn't, personally, because I don't think he can do 180 minutes. For me, I think you start Thompson up alongside Viduka. Viduka's been playing regularly, he's fit. Archie Thompson's extremely mobile, and I would be trying to save Harry for maybe the second half when you've withstood the pressure, bring him on in the wide area, try and create something. But to me also, your two attackers have to do so much defensive work in the first leg. To me, you don't want Harry doing all that work. To me, I'd put Archie out in the first 45 minutes away and say, listen, you close down, wherever they go in defence with the ball, you're chasing it and leave Duke centrally. So he's going to get through an enormous amount of work.
I don't think Archie can be dropped. I mean, he's been playing so well that it's how do you justify dropping him? I mean, that's
there is a question of his mental. Does he have that mental makeup? Will he die when national anthem is played? That's right. And the only person who knows that is Hus. Nobody else knows that.
He didn't crash in the Confederations Cup.
I think he's impressed with him.
He didn't crash in the Confederations Cup. I thought he ran around like a loony and gave us something.
In fact, every time he came on, he's done extremely well.
Just a quick one on the goalkeepers, Charlie. A lot of discussion whether we should be Schwartz or Kalats. Kalats is not playing first-team football, but a lot of people are saying, he's better than Schwartz.
Look, like I said, I think either keeper's going to go out there and do everything they possibly can. They'll play the best they possibly can. No, I'd go for Mark. I mean, as I said, I have the confidence in him, and he's been there, done that before, and certainly it's one of those occasions that I think he'd come up and play really well for us.
Yeah, well, he's got, I guess, more of the experience. Just quickly, give me your choice
on
there.
Kalach? On the keepers? I'd go Kalach for two reasons. Number one, I think he's better coming off his line in the air, and they're going to be whipping things into Morales for fun as much as they can from wide areas. Secondly, what I like about Spider is the way he commands his defence. If they're not doing the job away from home, Spider will let them know in the first two minutes, and he'll be on them all game. And I don't see that character in Mark.
And he's I've said this before. I know it's probably boring, but he's one of the best launchers of attacks, Željko Kalac, that I've ever seen from a goalkeeper. I mean, that's extremely, when you're playing on the break, that's extremely valuable.
Not only that, he has extremely good kicking game. He can distribute, he can kick. Mark's weaknesses are off the line and kicking game. That is very important in this situation.
You've always been a big Željko Kalac fan, and you have got that so totally wrong.
Under pressure.
Have I?
What? How can you say that Željko Kalac can maybe kick the ball further than Mark Schwartz? He's been at the top for so long. He's been the captain. He knows that leadership. All right, he hasn't been the captain for too long either, but he's played it in the national team for how long now? 3 years.
Well, Fozzie just makes a very good point that Mark is not as commanding in his area. The best that I've ever seen in that was Mark Bosnich. I mean, he was a general. He told everybody what to do in that penalty area.
That was only one Mark Bosnich. They come every 100 years. They don't come every day and every year.
All right, let's go around the table and see what you would nominate as You would be Fozzie, I'll start with you first. If you're the coach, don't tell me what you think Hiddink will do, what you would do in his position. What is your 11 and what formation?
Okay, well, I start playing a 3-4-1-2. The reason being that I want to keep numbers in defence, but also want a 5-man block there, Kalina and Grella in front, particularly Grella. The reason those two are central in front of the three is because the great strength to me of Uruguay is that Recoba and Forlan drop off the forward line back into midfield to pick up the ball, pick up the straps and go. So I'd want Thwaite and Milicevic to be able to follow them in and still have two boys at the back centrally. When they come back and they're not followed and they turn, that's when they create problems for teams, and they did it against Argentina. The rest, pretty much, it's pretty simple. I keep Bresciano up front because, like I'm saying, you've still got to try and score a goal away from home. Totally against playing one up front. Keep two, one in behind. And Bresciano sits on Garcia as well. Garcia is the key to me. He sits in the centre of midfield, distributes everything. I'd be saying when they've got the ball, Marco, you sit on Garcia and stop him getting the ball. Then at least they've got to start launching things or go wide. If they come through the centre, we're in trouble.
Charlie, yours? And we might come back to yours if we have time.
Well, mine's probably a little bit different. I looked at it in terms of who I thought had a mental approach to the game and subject to their fitness levels and so on. But again, I looked at it, the most crucial part for me was I would play Harry Kewell. People may question that we're talking 2 games. My view is if you've got what is perceived as being your best player and you don't put him in and you hold him for here and there, and you may miss that opportunity. So for me, I'd be getting him as a free roll, floating around, breaking, it doesn't matter which side, and that's an important thing. And for me, as a cluster, you look at it, you got the Emerton, because he always breaks, and even though, like I said, he's been there, he was there last time, and a lot of the players there that I picked have been there before, and to me, that is the motivation. The fact that they've been there, in a lot of cases, if they go out there, they want to prove a point, and that's what's really, really important.
Whitey.
You know what? I played Harry Kewell on the right-hand side. I don't know whether you remember, he played against England and he absolutely tore them apart.
He was.
Don't tell the Uruguayans, but I think, that might be our key.
He was a free man. He was a free player.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I'd play him on the right-hand side. My big concern, though, was at the back, and I've decided to play a 4 only because if we play a 3 and they're not organised, we're going to get slaughtered by them.
You got the old guys waiting.
Yeah, well, yeah. And look, Bresciano and Scocco. I know Scocco hasn't played, but Bresciano can get Thompson away like you wouldn't believe. If we can't defend with 8 players, then we shouldn't be out there. So I would leave Mark Viduka and Tomo up front, and I'd make sure that those passes went whack.
Yeah.
Rale, I left you till last because you're the only qualified coach in this group.
I'm strong. Thank you. I'm strong on Kalak being behind defence. Secondly, the way that I selected Emerton, Neil, Thwaite, I have complete confidence in young Michael. Chipperfield, who has played there in the last few weeks, you can't throw the players who haven't played in for so long. If you haven't played for 3 months, 6 months, you can't play here. Kyle to sit in the front of 4, then Grella to receive Recoba. Very important. I know I oppose Aurelio Widmer here because he said Tomo made mistake when he put Vaidi on Maradona. Well, if you didn't put on Maradona Paul White, we would lose by 3.
And I wouldn't get a game.
So I would pay...
That's right, you wouldn't have got a game. That's true.
Get out of here, Rale.
That's true, you wouldn't have got a game.
I would not. I pay full attention to Recoba, who is footballing genius. And Grella would mark Recoba and add himself to the midfield. Then you have extremely creative midfielders, good runners, Bresciano and Kulina, and excellent players, Viduka and Aloisi. Yeah. That's how I perceive to be. You need people who play week in, week out, and you need people who mentally will not die before kickoff. That is important part.
Well, in order to avoid embarrassment, I'm not going to put my team up. But thank you, gentlemen, for doing that. Thanks for joining us today. Another invigorating captain's table discussion. Yes. Wadey, thank you.
Cheers, Les.
Rale, thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank you, Les.
Thank you, Charlie. Thank you, Fozzie. And good luck to you and in your support for Australia on the 12th and the 16th. So we're just 7 days away now from the first leg in Montevideo. Be watching from 9:30 a.m. Eastern next Sunday morning for all the live action from the intimidating Centenario. Then the sides do battle in the return leg at Sydney's Telstra Stadium, hopefully full of green and gold on Wednesday, November 16. Our coverage that night kicks off at 7 p.m. Eastern. Now, some details for Sydney residents. Next Sunday morning from 9 a.m, You can watch the Socceroos take on Uruguay in Montevideo with Sydney FC squad members and 1974 Socceroos at a special breakfast at the Star City Casino Ballroom. Tickets from $75 with discounts for Sydney FC members, and each person gets a ticket to that afternoon's clash with the Queensland Roar at Aussie Stadium. Purchase all tickets by calling the numbers on your screen. Today, as mentioned already, marks 1 year since the passing of Captain Socceroo Johnny Warren. And with the World Cup playoffs just a week away, we caught up with a number of people dear to Johnny's heart. Michael Tomalaris has filed this report.
Oh, it's just God's country, mate. It's he just loved it. It was his peaceful getaway.
These lush green valleys were once home to Johnny Warren. It's a quiet little corner on the New South Wales south coast where very little happens.
So, Jamie, was John excited about the future of the game?
He was very excited about the future of the game on so many levels, Mike. I mean, Johnny Warren has always been the type of person he's never happy. No matter what happens, what success he has had through his life, he's always wanting to raise the bar, to create new goals, to keep improving, and in that regard, Johnny Warren would still be going hard.
Look carefully and you'll discover that Warren's memory continues to live on around here. The memorabilia that lines the walls and ceiling at the family-run Jamboree pub is testament to a man whose life as a footballer and later the game's disciple will never be forgotten. Johnny Warren's belief in the future of Australian football rubbed off on everyone who made contact with him. He had a dream that one day the game he loved would eventually wake from its slumber. And on the eve of Australia's date with destiny for a place in the 2006 World Cup, his influence cannot be ignored.
Johnny's memory will obviously, live on for all of us, especially his teammates. But, for many other people on the outside and those who didn't know him, he still got the name, and his dream, as I said, it's really coming true.
In his lifetime, Johnny could sense his great love of the game would one day realise its full potential. He was the one that insisted on calling soccer its correct name. He was the one who had the vision to tell us that Asia was the way of the future. And he was the one that advocated the launch of a professional football league in Australia. And even during his dying days, he never gave up the cause.
We've got to stop talking about where we're going to qualify. We've got to start talking about where we're going to win World Cups. And if Turkey can do what they did, and South Korea, Japan, if Greece could win the Euro Championships, there's a message there for us that champion teams beat teams of champions, and there's a big message there for Australian soccer.
He saw the big picture. He could explain it to people and everything like that, and people could agree with it or maybe disagree with it, but Dad was the one that had the passion.
The game is certainly moving in the direction that Johnny would have liked, but there's still more to be done.
Not fast enough. I still think, there's much more that can be done, and we all should get together, to do that.
Johnny Warren was the heart and soul of Australian football. Even when the game was on its knees, he would defend it with true passion. It's a fight the football fraternity in Australia has adopted with the same enthusiasm and belief that Johnny Warren showed throughout his life.
Johnny Warren remembered, and if you wish to commemorate the great man, you can place flowers at his memorial in Burley Park in the Sydney suburb of Botany, or donate to the Johnny Warren Foundation. The address is 6 Fig Tree Drive, Homebush Bay in 2127, or the postcode 2127.